Now will we see the magic?
All right, where's Murray? Okay, who is it?
This is Jesus, kid.
Know then that it is the year 10,191.
Yes, we are bored. We're all bored now.
Hi, good night.
Good night.
Hello, and welcome to Mary vs. the Movies with your host, Mary Jones.
And then a sling. Swing better.
Oh my god. Are you trying to old-timey baseball voice?
This is my normal voice.
It is not. Trust me, it is not your normal voice. Okay, so...
As brought to you by Ballantine Beer.
Valentine beer!
Did you ever see those old pictures of the Baker Bowl?
The Baker Bowl?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably, but I don't really,
It's
you
like,
know.
it's kind of...
Which one was the Baker Bowl?
I think that's...
Is that the same thing as Scheib?
Wasn't
No.
Scheib
That's... Scheib Park was in North
the fancy
Philly.
one?
That was the fancy one at
Yeah.
21st and...
Yeah, I think the Baker Bowl was the garbage one.
So was that the one that the Phillies played at?
That the Phillies played at, and it was right over a SEPTA line. I don't think it was SEPTA at the time.
No.
But it was right over a train line, and the outfielders could feel the
Okay.
the subways going underneath them.
Whereas the Athletics played at Scheib Park.
Yeah,
Until the Athletics left, and then I think the Phillies played at Scheib Park.
right.
At which point it was Connie Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, welcome to old-timey Philadelphia sports talk. This is not what? Wait a minute. What are the stations now? I have no idea. It's not 610. It's WIP. Although I guess that is still one. But what are the?
Oh, there's 90. I guess is it
94?
still YSP? I think.
It's the old WYSP.
Yeah.
The main terrestrial radio is sports talk, and then you have
and then there's
digital
an
channels.
ESPN channel. It's like what 97.5, I think.
I can't get into any of that, to be honest. I'm sorry. I love sports. I can't listen to sports radio. It is the most annoying thing in the world.
And the thing is, now there's so many podcasts and things like
Yeah.
that. Like
It's worse.
Sport and of course there's fan groups on Facebook.
I
It's
don't
a nightmare.
Yeah. and we're not even getting into the gambling aspect of it all.
Yeah.
I liked it when gambling was sub rosa.
Mm-hmm.
When you had to kind of do it on the sly. You had a bookie who lived in the
Bookies.
neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I'm sorry. That was a better world.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to just letting the mafia run this stuff
Yeah.
and not have, major corporations who are incredibly tied to our financial system actually being part of.
Yeah, we've been to a couple games. We've been to Flyers and Phillies games. And yeah, there's just a whole kiosk of here's gambling. Here you go, kids.
So speaking of gambling, and I swear to God, this is entirely an organic conversation.
Yeah.
Tonight we're watching Field of Dreams.
Ah.
Now, here's the thing. I've actually seen Field of Dreams.
What?
Yeah. Well, okay. So normally the point of this show is I've never seen a film. Now, to be fair, I have not seen this film in 30 plus years.
Is this a Dennis versus the movies?
A little bit. bit.
Okay.
So it's summertime.
Yeah.
I mean, the weather doesn't feel like it, but technically it is summertime.
Yeah.
Baseball is on television. We watch baseball almost every night.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like to do baseball movies in the summer.
Is this a Hollywood Avalon episode?
No, this is not watching The Natural. I mean, yeah, there is a kind of mysticism built into Field of Dreams. But no, so we're watching Field of Dreams. Now, Dennis, you've never seen this film.
Nope.
Why?
I don't trust post-Fandango, what's his name?
Kevin Costner?
Kevin Costner.
Fandango.
Yeah.
Wait, is that a real film? I thought that was just the
I
website
keep
where
telling
you buy.
I keep telling you
Yeah,
about Fandango.
I don't care. I keep thinking it's just the app where I used to buy movie tickets. I don't even think you do that anymore.
Yeah.
Fandango is a real. Are you sure you're not thinking of Silverado?
It is called Fandango.
We did Silverado for the show.
It stars.
Fandango. That's the name of a cartoon character who's part wolf or something.
Maybe that's what it is.
Is Fandango a real movie?
It is a real movie.
just
and
don't
I
believe
really
you.
do like it.
Well, what?
At least I did when I saw it.
Dennis, we watched Hangar 18, and I don't trust you anymore. I mean, we watched Metal Storm. I should never have trusted you.
I had never seen Metal Storm.
That's true. But you saw...
And neither of us have seen it in 3D, so we have no idea.
No. So why... Seriously, though, you used to like Kevin Costner.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
But, he kind of got a little preachy, and I got...
Oh, no, really?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Did you see Dances with Wolves?
I did. I saw it in the theater.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
And I was I don't know. It's kind of like the whole, what's his name? Otto.
Otto?
Kevin Kline.
Oh.
Like he kind of...
Yeah.
He kind of like softened, and I was like, I loved his early roles so much. I love him. I love you to death. I love that movie, and I just was like,
well, we'll always have Mr. Fischoeder.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, Kevin Costner. Yeah, this is kind of his biggest movie in a way. No, that's not entirely true because I guess this and Dances with Wolves. They're kind of equally weighted. Dances with Wolves actually got him, the Oscars and whatnot.
And Bull Durham.
Well, see, here's the thing.
What?
I would have done Bull Durham this year.
Yeah?
And we may still do Bull Durham.
Why not?
Well, because tonight they're showing Field of Dreams on TCM.
Yeah.
And so I was like, hey, let's do it.
We can watch that, and then we can watch Fandango.
Dennis, we'll do Fandango at some point, but I don't even know what that is.
Oh, it's great.
I swear to God, it's just, it is an app. So, all right. You've never seen Field of Dreams, but you know what it is, right?
Yeah.
How did you not watch this with your dad? This is a total dad movie.
It was at a period where I was watching snobbier films.
Oh. Uh-oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
You thought you were above watching Field of Dreams.
Exactly.
You hate America.
I did. Not now, though.
Oh, no. Yes, we love the United States of America. We pledge our fealty to. Anyway, God, I just. Anyway, so what do you know about Field of Dreams, though?
If you build it, they will come. I know that Darth Vader's in it.
Darth Vader.
And
I guess you're right.
Shoeless Joe Jackson is in it.
Wait a minute. You're putting historical figure Shoeless Joe Jackson on the same level as Darth Vader.
Now we don't
both
know.
villains.
It was a long time ago.
In a city far, far away.
They're both complicated villains. They were lured by the dark side.
So, do you know anything else about this movie?
Something about his dad. There's dad issues.
Like I said, it's a dad movie.
Yeah. And he's playing in a. I know he's playing in this field, and since then they've actually built a field in a field, and
they built a field in a field. So, who do you know is in this movie? Other than, as you say, Darth Vader, by which we mean James Earl Jones.
James Earl Jones, the postman, and
the postman. Go on.
The Gill guy from Waterworld.
Yes.
I don't think Tom Petty is in this one, although he should be.
I mean, I don't inherently associate Petty with baseball, but go on.
It would work for me.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll swing a bit.
Go on.
And Samuel L. Jackson?
Samuel L. Jackson?
I don't know. I have no idea who else is in this movie. I just know
okay,
this
that's fine.
It's Jason Robards or some older actor.
You might actually be pleasantly surprised by...
Wait.
Now we're actually jogging your memory, and that's almost disappointing. Go ahead.
Is it, what's his name?
Sure.
Yeah, Kissing on the Beach, dude.
I know what you mean by that, but I'm not going to say.
Oh.
That's life.
Here to eternity.
Here to eternity. Yeah.
Burt Lancaster.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, Burt Lancaster is in this. I think it is his final film.
Yeah. And
as opposed to Atlantic City, which we covered on the show.
I think that's why I know is I was reading up on his career and then that popped up. So that's all I know. I don't know much else about it.
Okay, so I think you might find this interesting, at least in terms of who's in it. And I don't know. What else do you? Okay, let me put it this way.
I feel like I've seen the last scene.
Is there a dog?
Yeah, there's got to be a dog.
Yeah, it's Iowa.
Yeah.
Right? It's a farm. There better be a dog.
Yeah, like Wales is filled with sheep. Iowa is filled with dogs.
Yeah. Okay, I'll give you that.
We'll check with
Sure.
Rachel on that one.
Yeah, Rachel from Des Moines, let us know. Is Iowa filled with dogs?
Yeah.
Is it the Isle of Dogs? Anyway, what? Okay, are there any deaths?
They're ghosts, right? They're all dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. It deals with that. I don't know if anyone actually dies in the film.
Okay.
I feel like there's ghosts. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Is there a love triangle?
Between man and like baseball and women or something.
Man, baseball, and women is like the ultimate triangle. Actually, I think that's just Bull Durham. But which again, we probably should cover this year.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's a movie I've always wanted to see.
I just never got to it.
Yeah.
All right. Is there a cool car?
No.
Okay.
There's an old busted car.
Sure. Again, it's the Midwest. He's a farmer.
Yeah.
Is there an angry dad?
Yeah, there is.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Do you have any further questions?
Is he broke at any point?
I can't say.
I'm going to say at some point he's broke from doing his wacky ass thing. And then he comes back.
Okay.
Somehow. I don't know.
That's fine.
He goes broke.
If you could build a baseball diamond in our backyard, would you?
I'd probably prefer a hockey rink.
Damn! Yeah, it's true.
I prefer hockey to baseball. I'm sorry. I'm
Dennis,
Canadian.
global warming
I'm
is...
secretly Canadian.
You're secretly Canadian.
Crazy, I'm crazy for feeling so lonely. I'm crazy, crazy for feeling so blue.
So I gotta say, normally when we do these things, I can guess how you're going to react. Like I know, like how you feel about most films. Usually we mostly agree. Sometimes we don't. I actually have no idea for this one. I don't know if you're anti or, I don't know if like the whole boomer thing is going to get you or.
Baby, I contain multitudes.
I know.
So, will I contradict myself? Maybe.
Huh.
You've almost incentivized me not to continue with the episode just because I want to retain the mystery.
The end. Thank you for listening to Mary versus the Movies.
That's it. That's the end of the show forever. So much for the live show.
Oh, well.
Yeah. All right.
I'll understand.
Felled by Kevin Costner. Why does that feel right? So, how do I feel about this? I don't know. We'll find out by the end of this.
Okay.
Because on the one hand, God knows I do love a baseball movie.
Yeah.
And I do love magical realism.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, this is one of the most boomer pieces of cinema that I have ever seen.
Yeah.
Like I literally this is 30-something the movie. And that's not just because it has Timothy Busfield in it. But that is not an insignificant part of it.
Wait, who's he?
He is the red-haired bearded guy, the brother.
I know.
Yes, the guy you always hate. The guy you hate. You have a vendetta against that guy, which I find fascinating. So here's the thing where I actually confess to something. I've watched all of 30-something.
I know.
I actually have it on DVD.
I don't know why.
Well, I don't know. Like, I don't either because I have a real love-hate relationship with that show because it is this incredibly excessive, boomery, sort of navel-gazing, self-indulgent. On the other hand, it's actually like a really well-made TV dramedy. So I don't know how to reconcile that. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I find it interesting. Like whatever I was doing where you came through the house. Also, I think at the time that I really got into watching it, I was only marginally employed at the time, and so I had a lot of time to watch television.
Yeah. you were ended up at the bottom of the barrel.
Now wait a minute. I've watched worse. But no, I just remember you coming through the living room or something at one point, just like seeing Timothy Busfield on the screen and sneering. And I find that interesting because I don't have a frame of reference that you do for hating him. Now, here's the thing. He often plays terrible characters.
Yeah.
Like jerks. Like this one. His character on 30-something is also not that different from this guy, to be honest.
Yeah.
I just found it interesting. Like, as soon as he shows up on the screen, you just got angry. What do you think of this film?
There's a lot to criticize with it, and yet I do like it. Probably like the stuff that I like about it is probably the stuff that's probably wrong with it.
Go on.
Well, you know, it's like this privileged white guy just...
Very much so. Again, it's a boomer story.
Following his dreams, helped by women and a magical black man.
Oh my God. He
As we kick the can.
No. Do not go back to the Twilight Zone. Look, on the one hand, I understand what you mean by referring to James Earl Jones' character as the magical black man, because he is helping to facilitate Kevin Costner's character to realize, his destiny, right? On the other hand, I do think that's a little reductive to his character. In the book, he was not black. He was actually just J.D. Salinger, which is, I mean, again, unpacking all of that. That's probably one of the things in the film I hate the most is the school board scene, while at the same time recognizing how it's still relevant, which kind of annoys me. As we said, this movie starts with a monologue about this. Oh God, I don't even remember what what's his character's name. Do you?
Ray Kinsella.
Right. Okay. His name is Ray Kinsella. That's right. So, Kevin Costner plays Ray Kinsella in his 30s. He's a farmer in Iowa. He had gone to Berkeley. He grew up actually in Brooklyn. Yeah. His father came from North Dakota. His father was born like 1896. So like it's the idea like his father was already old when he had him.
Is it Kevin Costner doing this narration, by the way?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know.
I feel like this is like the start of Kevin Costner going up his own butt.
Oh yeah.
Type of thing.
Like he didn't write or direct this, but it feels like this is him forming
like
his
him,
own.
Him turning to the audience saying, "Let me tell you what you're seeing."
Yeah.
And it's I don't know.
Well, I have to say though, it's kind of funny. His, this idea of like this father who was way old when he had him, and like that did remind me a lot of my own family. Yeah, we have a lot of people who have their kids really old. His father's from the end of the 19th century, and is trying to raise this bratty boomer child, and I can only imagine what that guy is thinking. Like in my day, we were allowed to whip you.
Yeah.
So yeah, his father comes from North Dakota, but ends up in Brooklyn, and Ray is born, I guess, in the 50s, at which point he would have been almost 60. This father. Yeah. Yeah. So that's old even in my family, but and so the mother had died, and it was just him and his old man, and it's the 60s, and so of course there's generational conflict.
There's a little bit. So there's a movie we watched once called The 60s.
Oh, God. We didn't watch it together, thank God. Although I wish you had been there because I needed somebody to feel my pain watching it.
I just remember the scenes at the Gaslight.
Oh, God.
It was like a Cliff Notes of the 60s.
Yeah, for those who don't remember, this was it was actually more like a 2-night miniseries or something on NBC in around like the late 90s, maybe? Uh-huh. Yeah,
I feel like they did the 70s after that.
Did they really? That's even worse.
Yeah.
God, that's like trying to watch like that 80s show or something.
Yeah.
No. So yeah, exactly. It was that terrible sort of Cliff Notes idea of like our characters hit all the major points of the 1960s, and in a way that like God, I hate the movie Forrest Gump, right? I truly hate Forrest Gump.
Oh, I know.
But I'll give it this. At least Forrest Gump is working on a sort of unreal level, right? It's, you can't think of that film as being realistic. And I guess the novel was originally a satire. So, as Forrest Gump is like there like Zelig, in like all these important moments, the 60s, this TV movie did the same thing, but even worse.
Yeah.
And from sincerity, like, isn't it amazing we're following these people going through all the major moments of the 1960s?
Oh, and why did Bob Dylan turn his back on us? Type of.
Oh God.
Terrible.
You know what? Good for Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
To hell with you people.
I know.
That guy's just a weirdo.
Yeah.
I mean, he's amazing, but he's a weirdo.
He is.
And you know what? I'm glad he like, first of all, went electric. All peace upon Pete Seeger, who at least was, a real dude who actually believed in everything and like walked the walk and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But good for Bob Dylan for turning his back on these idiots. Because frankly, they're all, no, I don't have a lot of love for the boomers.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of love for Gen X or the millennials or like any. First of all, I hate generations. I hate the concept of the generation. I think it's obnoxious. But anyway, this is a very boomer movie, and I won't leave go of that.
At one point, Kevin Costner is saying, "You're not the '60s anymore, man," or something like that.
God.
It's terrible.
Oh man.
Very unearned.
I just wanted to drown myself hearing some of that. Yeah, some of the dialogue in this is just. So yeah, he basically is living through the 1960s, and he marries a girl at college, and they go off and like have a farm. She
is Helen Hunt meets Meg Ryan.
Well, she's Amy Madigan.
Yeah.
But
I mean, like every time I saw her, I was like, oh, is that Helen Hunt? Oh, is that Meg Ryan?
Well, so here's the thing. That's an interesting question. I'm going to ask you something. Would this movie have been better if it starred Tom Hanks? The answer is yes. That doesn't mean it would have been a good film. Also, again, we're back to Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Like, the best scenes of him are when he's actually just, like, nervously stalking James Earl Jones. No, I'm serious. That's the part that actually feels like a character is coming through, and the rest of it, he's just there as this sort of bland face of boomer America. It's in those moments where he's doing something that's obviously deranged, that actually feels like a person, and that actually is a decent performance from him. He has this farm, and the farm is barely breaking even. And it's interesting because so what's going on in the background of this, at least as far as the film is concerned, I've never read the book, and it's not really commented on in the film, but there was a farm crisis in the 1980s where a lot of small farms disappeared. The land was like bought up by the big agri farmers and stuff. There was a lot of like the end of sort of small farms as a way of life in the United States, and so you had things like Farm Aid, right? He obviously isn't hocked to a bank or whatever, and unfortunately, like some of the investors are led by his wife's brother, played by Timothy Busfield. And so they've got a mortgage on the place. And then all of a sudden, Ray starts hearing voices saying, if you build it, he will come. What's weird about this movie is that he makes a lot of very strange leaps in logic.
Yeah.
Because he goes, if you build it, he will come. And then all of a sudden, he starts talking about Shoeless Joe Jackson, and he has to build a baseball diamond. And honestly, there's no logical way that this progresses.
I feel like in the book, like you can see the thought process, but here it's like, what is he doing?
Because
but that's what I like about the movie. Is I love how just weird he just kind of clings to these voices. He's like, oh, this means something, and it's like, oh, okay.
But here's where the film has a problem, because yeah, it means something, but because so much of this film is him narrating to us.
Yeah.
That we don't get to hear his thought processes of how he really jumps from hearing a voice saying, if you build it, he will come, to, oh, this is about Shoeless Joe Jackson. If I build a baseball diamond, Shoeless Joe Jackson will appear. We don't really get how his brain works, which is weird because he's narrating the film for us. It's one thing if it's if we're just not having him narrate this and it just sort of happens and it's just this exploration of a weird character, that's fine. But the film doesn't do that.
So it turns out this movie is actually Blade Runner, but instead of replicants, they're ghosts. And it turns out the entire time he was a ghost.
Okay, see, that would be better.
It would be.
That would be a better film. So he hears this voice saying, if you build it, he will come.
Yep.
and just makes the leap of building a baseball diamond to summon the ghost of Shoeless Joe Jackson, who he is convinced did not actually intentionally throw the World Series. Which, by the way, no, he did. He totally did. That it's established. It's a fact. He did throw.
But his stats.
I don't care.
Look at his stats.
Look at his stacks of money. No, he threw the game.
The stats.
Sure. That's the rejoinder to the idea that, oh, he threw the game is like, no, he had these, look at his stats. He wouldn't, why would he throw the game? Yeah, no. So he takes this section of the cornfield. Again, the farm's not doing great. He takes a section of the cornfield and he just mows it under and turns it into a baseball diamond.
They bring in dirt. They bring in the right grass.
Everything.
This thing looks amazing.
It's a great looking little ball field.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to play ball on this field. He puts in stadium lights.
He puts in stadium lights.
Why are you putting in stadium lights? It's your house. You don't have to do
You're trying
this.
to please these ghosts, and they're like, we don't know what stadium lights are.
That's a very good point. When they show up, they're like, what is with the lights?
Yeah.
Right, because they're all from an era when, who's putting up lights? I know they started in the 1930s.
That's the most boomer part of this.
Oh, my God. Yeah, because there's, at one point, some guy's just like, why do you have these what's with the lights? And he's like, oh, they even have them at Wrigley now. And
I remember when they first did that at Wrigley. It was, because for the longest time, they didn't.
Yeah, they could only do day games, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I do know that, they started doing stadium lights in the 30s, which we saw in The Natural.
Yep.
If you remember. So yeah, like the idea that like some of these guys wouldn't know what a stadium light is, because that's another thing. When the ghosts show up, they're at like a younger age, some of them, and some of them are at an older age. And like there's no like rhyme or reason to how old these guys are when they hit the field, but they remember their entire life. So these guys would remember stadium lights because it is only like 15 years maybe between like 1919 and when they start using stadium lights. It's not like, unless all those guys suddenly died in like 1930, like they saw stadium lights. It's I realize that they just put that in there to like show like, oh, they're really old timey, but like they remember their lives up until they died. So like I'm just saying, they knew what stadium lights were. Yeah, that's again.
So Ray Liotta is Shoeless Joe, which is an interesting choice for.
It is.
Yeah, and he's great. I think
he is. He's great in this
because we saw Something Wild,
where he's terrifying.
He's absolutely terrifying, and there's still some of that. Like I don't know which way he's gonna go.
Yeah. It's interesting because there's something very reticent about his character in this, because he's a ghost who's not sure why he's been summoned. Right. And he is a ghost who has a reputation as having thrown this game. It's a famous, incident, right?
Yeah. Well, his friends did. He didn't because of the stats.
Sure. I don't know if people know like how big a deal like the throwing of the World Series was. Like that, like, well, imagine throwing the Super Bowl. Imagine throwing the World Series now. Like people are still mad at the Astros, as they should be, for stealing signs. And that's not even like, that's trying to win. This is trying not to win, right? So like, it's a huge deal what they were accused of. And so you have this ghost show up who's kind of like, why am I here?
Yeah.
And I like the way that Liotta plays it. He's it's a very quiet performance.
Yep.
But as you say, there's something kind of nervy underneath where you're not entirely sure, like, what is going on here. But in a way that it is very effective. Yeah.
Yeah, like he never smiles or maybe
he does a few times, but again, he's very standoffish in a way that a lot of the other ball players are much more, jovial.
So wait, are the 8 men all there? Are all the other? Do
I
they
think,
show up?
I think
first?
I think they do, because as you
so
said,
those guys are definitely guilty.
Yes.
Yeah, they're bums.
Yeah, they are. Look, I'm sorry, he is also a bum.
He's a tramp. I forget what the levels are. Bum, tramp.
What are you talking about?
Oh, there's different terms. Whether they're looking for a job or not. Like,
you're talking. Okay, yeah. All right. So hobos, yeah. I think a tramp isn't looking for work. Yeah. No, a bum's not looking for work. Yeah. A hobo is always looking for work. Anyway, wait? All of a sudden we jumped to the 1930s, but there is a long period of time between when he builds that ball field and Ray Liotta shows up. it's a very short montage of he builds his field and then nothing happens, and a whole year goes
people
by.
laugh at him.
People laugh at him. Like Christmas, he's sitting there in an ugly sweater looking out at a ball field under snow, and everybody else is like actually like having fun and eating, food and stuff, and he's just like morosely looking out the window.
This is totally how I see Kevin Costner today.
So, but yeah, no, when Shoeless Joe finally shows up out of nowhere, as he's considering like just plowing the whole thing under because they're going to lose the farm, and he's taking away acreage from growing corn.
That's what 30-something keeps saying.
Exactly. So yes, Timothy Busfield is ready to foreclose on the farm, and drive them into poverty, and Shoeless Joe shows up, and then like all these other ball players start showing up, and they start having games, and nobody can see them if they don't believe in it, right?
Yeah.
So Ray can see it, his wife can see it, their kid can see it, but Timothy Busfield, the brother, he can't see it.
Nope.
Not at all. And all he sees is his, in-laws sitting there looking nuts, staring at an empty field, playing, nothing is happening, and they're watching a baseball game.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. That's like this is the magical realism stuff that actually works rather well.
Yeah. There's a lot that works about this film.
Yeah, but there's a lot that doesn't.
There's just so many kind of half like story things just kind of get half explained.
Yes,
but I kind of feel like it helps the film, like how vague it is. I don't know. Like I feel like if it explained more stuff, I think the film would fall apart.
What I would like, I guess you can feel that way, but I'm not going to agree. So,
well, I thank you for validating my opinion.
I'm not sure that I did. So
I can feel that way. That's what the quote. So
that's fair. No, here's the thing. Like, he also makes this leap of, ease his pain, right? Like, later he gets this, like, idea of the voice is saying ease his pain. And he makes this logical leap of, I need to seek out this writer who disappeared in the 1960s. Now, to be fair, like, some of this is happening because the author's works are being banned at the local school or library or something. And, okay, the book banning scene, it's a little heavy-handed. It's a little over the top.
Really?
Everything old is new again. And I mean, I literally, this is what we've been dealing with for the past, however many years.
So we were talking with Anne, Mary's sister, about like, what would you call this movie? Is it a baseball movie? Or like, well, it's a fantasy.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is the most fantastic scene of all, is this PTA meeting where, they're trying to ban a book by this Terrence Mann guy. Who that's the fictional author. Terrence Mann
is the stand-in for J.D. Salinger, and he's played by James Earl Jones.
Amy Madigan stands up, and she's like, well, do you want to be Hitler or something?
Yeah.
That's basically where she goes. And everyone cheers with her, like, yeah.
We don't want to be Nazis.
Yeah.
Let's not ban books. And guess what? That's not really how it rolls, man.
That's not what happens.
That is not what happens. No. Instead, you get doxxed by like Moms for Liberty and Libs of TikTok or something, and yeah. Ugh. So yeah, this is again total like liberal boomer fantasy of how this would really go. Yeah, if I just make a good argument and call people Nazis, everybody will recognize that they're wrong and feel shame and change their minds.
This is what that family member on Facebook is picturing every time they make those posts.
Oh my God! Yes, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you really got him that time.
So yeah, at this meeting, or because of this meeting, again, the voice of God speaks to Ray and says, ease his pain. And he gets this idea in his head that he has to go to Boston and track down Terrence Mann and bring him back to Iowa. Again, it's such a bizarre leap of logic. And like, you don't really entirely get his internal workings as to how he made this leap.
Well, it's not so much to bring him to... just take him to a baseball game.
Well, yeah, okay, yeah. That's true. You're right. It is to take him to a baseball game.
Because that's the reason why she lets him go, is because she had a dream about the same thing the night before.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It's not to kidnap him
so
yet.
God is working in weird ways here.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, he drives off to Boston to find Terrence Mann, who lives in an Orthodox Jewish neighborhood for some reason, and is a recluse. And he, Ray shows up and is just like, I've been sent by God essentially to take you to a baseball game because you once wrote, gave an interview where you talked about how great baseball is, and of course, James Earl Jones' response is, I don't know what you're talking about, and also get out of here. I have a gun.
He's great, by the way.
Oh, he's great in this.
Yeah.
I love him in this. He's fantastic. He he's like, I want no part of this nonsense.
I wanted him to fight it more, like, get this crazy white guy out of here. But in terms of the movie, he handles himself like he does the best with what he has.
So they end up going to a Red Sox game, and long before Josh Cantor was the organist there, and someday we will get there, and that will be very cool.
Yeah.
Terrence Mann admits, no, actually, I did write this thing about it, and I do love baseball, and you know what, I believe in your quest, and I'm going to go with you.
Yeah.
Because
is
I
this
went
an
to a game.
Arthurian thing?
No, absolutely not. No, which is funny because like The Natural is definitely an Arthurian movie, but this is definitely not.
Yeah.
No, this is the psychotic ramblings of a boomer.
Meanwhile, their house is being foreclosed.
Yeah.
By 30-something.
Yeah, by her brother.
Yeah.
Which is terrible, isn't it? It's bad enough that like it's being foreclosed on, but it's her brother and his investors are taking the farm from them.
I love this part of the movie.
I think it's one of the better things in it, actually.
Yeah, because it's like, here's this guy just doing all these crazy stuff.
Right, because
and he's got this wife like, oh, we did drugs. Let's just do it.
Right.
And it's like, and I'm like, finally some consequences is this weirdo.
This film is nothing if not a regurgitation of boomer mythology about itself and how free-thinking it is. The thing is, look, and I'm saying this as somebody who I've read all of the books by J.D. Salinger, all 4 of them. There's not a lot, and they're really mostly short stories. So like I liked his work, right? But there is something so mythology about like, oh, and the author who helps him realize what his ultimately what ends up being a reconciliation with his father, is J.D. Salinger, because he is, being held up as like this rebellious writer from the 60s who disappeared. And like, that's not entirely true to what J.D. Salinger was, actually. Yeah. Like, that's a very weird reading of his work. Don't get me wrong. I mean, like, I find actually Catcher in the Rye to be a really interesting book that if you come back to it as a middle-aged adult, reads very differently than when you were 16. And I think it's worth doing that. But no. And also, like, that's kind of weirdly back projecting him as one of the Beats, which he wasn't.
Right.
And also, frankly, the Beats weren't really like that. Look at Kerouac. I mean, he became a reactionary in the end. But so, anyway, yeah, this is just so much boomer mythology. And it's all about, like, the reconciliation between the young boomer who went off to college and then, he went to forge his own path in life because he hated his dad.
Yeah, he went to Berkeley.
He went to Berkeley and marched against the war and all the other stuff that people like to pretend they did. And then he, ends up becoming a farmer in Iowa, which, again, I don't know. I doubt that was, like, a real trajectory for anybody. But, and because his father dies and then he feels all this regret that, like, he never reconciled with his dad, and so this is basically a ghost story about how, the boomers just couldn't get along with their dads who went through the war. Okay. And yet at the same time, I understand the appeal of this. I really do. James Earl Jones has this speech, and frankly, if you go to a baseball game, and because now they have, big projection televisions, and they'll show clips of films and to like hype the crowd, and they will do his speech to hype the crowd. And I get it, because I love baseball. Yeah. And so I do think baseball is this very sort of, like, I could go into a whole thing about, like, is baseball, symbolic of America? It is, but in very interesting ways, not the least being that, hey, we get a lot of ball players from, say, the Dominican Republic or Venezuela. It's this door into our country of, you're very good at this thing you do. Please come here and play this game with us. And you could talk about that as like symbolic of the promise of what America is supposed to be, which it's not nowadays. But which is interesting to reflect on and awful, by the way. But there is something about the idea of baseball as it's not. It is not the field sport that is you have a goal on each end and two factions just hitting each other, right?
Yeah.
It's a different type of game.
And what I like about it is that it's this 19th century thing.
Yeah.
It's like this 19th century American thing. And there's just not a lot from the 19th century that America has to offer.
No, that we still do it all. It's all gone.
But there's this weird old-fashioned thing with crazy rules, and that they keep adding weird rules to adjust because they always do. I kind of like how funky and weird it is. Exactly.
It doesn't fit into the sort of field of like a football or a soccer,
Yeah.
or hockey. Actually, it's the same thing. And so you have the two goals, the two warring factions. Basketball is the same thing, exactly. Yeah. It doesn't fit those. It is a different type of game entirely. And yes, there are variations. There's rounders and there's cricket, and cricket is to the UK and its related countries, former empire and all that. That's to the United States. That's our version.
But what I like about it is that it's this old thing, but it's always been kind of lower class.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's never been a sport for nobles or something.
No,
it's just this stuff that bums play. That John Kruk can be a star.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because of the way that people come up through baseball, through the farm leagues and everything, you don't have the same elite. What do you call it? Where you make a player. Development.
Oh yeah.
You're not pulling from college teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is no NCAA for baseball. You just have your other leagues, your minor leagues and whatnot.
Yeah.
It has a
Triple
different
AA.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And man, those are fun to go to.
Yeah.
Go to your smaller teams, man. It is you get to watch kind of ridiculous things, during the seventh inning, silly races of people wearing costumes, which, okay, granted, you could probably see that at a Brewers game, but it's the same idea, it's I love baseball, right? As you say, this is a game that much like basketball, you could play it in the street, right?
Yeah.
And you play, who didn't play baseball in the street when they were a kid? I did, I also played on a team. But, I played in the street because that's what you did. And it's the same thing with basketball. You play on the street. It's because it doesn't take much equipment, right? It's just you need a space to do it, but it doesn't take much. And even then, when you say space, all you have to do is okay, well, that car's home plate, or, or that car's first base, that other car's third base, whatever. Baseball is different. And it is America. In a way, yeah, the other stuff is America too, but I like the idea that people come to the United States to play baseball, right? Yeah. It can be an immigrant sport.
Mm-hmm.
As you say, it represents this 19th century idea of what America can be. Anyway, so I love baseball.
Yeah.
Do I love this movie? Well.
So it's also a ghost movie.
Yeah.
But is it a ghost movie?
Well, there's ghosts.
There's ghosts. There's nothing scary about them. It's kind of like Twilight, and it's taking a trope and just removing all of the trappings of that trope. So they're not translucent. They're just there.
Yeah. And the only time they actually act like ghosts is when they're coming in and out of the cornfield.
Yeah. And
the fact that they can't step off of the baseball diamond,
mm-hmm.
And into, our world.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's a ghost story in the same way that, it's a bit like an episode of The Twilight Zone.
I think that he even shakes hands with Shoeless Joe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they can go onto
yeah.
the diamond, but the players can't come off the diamond, although they can go into the outfield, which is the cornfield.
Yeah.
There are rules,
mm-hmm.
They're not firmly established, which I don't need. We don't need that for this. As long as you have that one rule that you can't go past the first baseline. That must be weird to be a catcher since you're in like this gray zone, actually, if you think about it. But hey, whatever. We're not going to argue about that.
Do we know who all of the players are except for the catcher?
No.
Okay. I thought I saw an A in there.
Yeah?
And so I don't know if that's Jimmy Fox. I don't know if that's... I don't
Oh,
know.
that's true. They are all from different teams.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, I think the 8 men are there, but then
Yeah.
for the other team, like all these other guys, oh, I brought some friends.
Yeah. and so we don't know who the other ghost players are. Now, I don't remember what it is that gets them looking for this third character played by Burt Lancaster. I guess they started reading about this one guy who, had like one game.
So they see his stats on the board at Fenway.
That's right. They're at the game at Fenway, and they see the stats of a guy who had one game in the majors.
Yeah.
And didn't get to play anything else.
Mm-hmm.
This Doc character.
Yeah.
Ray hears, and I forget what he hears. what voices in his head says, go and do this thing. But he decides that he has to find out who this, one ball player was.
Archibald Graham,
who was a real guy.
Yeah.
They go off in search of who Archibald Graham is. Is he still alive? All this stuff. And of course he's not. He died in the early 70s, but he was a guy who had like one game in the majors and then had to drop out, but went on and became a doctor in Minnesota, I think.
And Minnesota. And they go in search of this guy, and of course they can't find him, and he's dead. And then Ray has a mystical experience of he goes to leave the flop house that they're staying in, him and Terrence. I love that word.
Flop house?
Flop house. It's
You ever
great.
see? You don't even listen to the podcast, The Flop House.
No.
They're a better version of us. So he walks outside, and all of a sudden he's transplanted back into like 1971, 72?
Somewhere around there.
Yeah. Well, whenever he steps back in time, The Godfather is in the movie theater across the street.
Yeah.
So he steps back in time and he encounters the Doc. And the Doc is played by Burt Lancaster in, I guess, his final film role.
Yeah. It was supposed to be Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah.
Because it's just on the nose.
Yeah, it's a little on the nose. And like for some reason Stewart couldn't do it. I don't know if he was still acting on screen at all. I know he had at least one voice role before he died, and that was in 5-0 Goes West. But no, he was. Other than that, I don't think he was doing any more screen acting at that time. So and he didn't do it here. But so they got Burt Lancaster, and Lancaster's great in this actually. Yeah, I think he's one of the better things in this film. And so he encounters this Doc as a ghost, and essentially Doc says, "Yeah, it would have been great if I played the game. I had a good life though." Yeah. I married this girl and it was wonderful, and I helped all these people. I was a doctor. Like I lived a good life. I don't regret really anything.
Because he's trying to come back with me, go play this game, and
come to my ball field as a ghost and play this game, and I'll basically fulfill like your dreams that you never had. And he's kind of like, I don't. That's not really the problem. I had a good life. Yeah. I like that's in here. Uh-huh. That idea that like, yeah, I had a shot. It didn't work out. The rest of my life was good, and the film does not take that away from him, because what they do is the next day they wake up, Ray, the ghost leaves.
The house is going to be sold.
Yeah, he finds out the house is going, the farm is going to be sold out from under him. And so he and Terrence get into the van to go back home to Iowa. And on their way, they pick up a hitchhiker who is the young version of Doc, Archibald. Yeah. And take him back to the ball field. It's a little weird that they can encounter this particular ghost, but I guess this ghost is able to permeate boundaries for some reason, and I think I know why that is. Mm-hmm. Because he actually had the good life. Yeah. Unlike those other guys, he doesn't have any regrets about his life.
He doesn't have a regret like based on the diamond.
No.
So yeah.
So
he can escape it.
Exactly. So he's able to go back and forth, or at least he can be summoned outside of the baseball diamond. Yeah. So they bring him on the road back to Iowa, and they get there, and there is the ball game, and so he goes and joins the team as the young man playing in the game. Timothy Busfield shows up and is like, "Yep, I'm here to foreclose. You're an idiot. What you've basically ruined your own life."
He pushes their daughter onto the ground.
No, he does not intentionally. The kid falls while eating a hot dog and starts to choke, and because the kid starts to choke, Doc sees this. goes up to the edge of the baseball diamond and decides, yeah, you know what? I'm going to save her. Crosses the boundary. He's no longer the young ball player Archie. He is now old Duck, Burt Lancaster.
Yeah.
And he
finally killed a guy in Atlantic City. Good for him.
No, he saves a little girl.
Yeah.
And he saves the girl, basically gives her the Heimlich maneuver. They all realize, hey, this means you can't go back onto the baseball diamond. And his whole point being like, yeah, that's fine. My wife's waiting for me in the afterlife. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And but I like that idea that like I don't actually have any regrets here.
Yeah.
This is fine.
He's gone off to the west with Galadriel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. So because, Burt Lancaster stepped off the baseball diamond to save the daughter, all of a sudden now Timothy Busfield can see the ball game happening, and he's just like, oh my God, everything you were doing was real, and I guess, we have to save the ball field, and it's that whole kind of like, oh, magic is real, and now I have to help you, and so I'm going to tear up the foreclosure notice, and you get to keep we have to save the ball field.
They sing Auld Lang Syne.
Yeah, exactly. Harry comes in from the war. Uncle Billy is not in an insane asylum. So yeah, it's sort of they all decide like, oh, this place is going to become a tourist attraction. Basically, that's what happens. Like, how are we going to save?
80s.
It is so 80s.
How make money off of this thing?
How are we going to save the farm? And that's when Terrence gives the whole speech about baseball, and people are going to come to see this place because people love baseball, and this represents America.
Baseball.
And on the one hand, as you said, this is ridiculous. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. On the other hand, I love baseball, and I do want to go to see this place. Next time we're in Iowa,
yeah,
we've only been to Iowa once, but the next time we're in Iowa,
yeah, apparently it's free to go on the field, but you can go into the farmhouse for like $20 or something.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
I'll give him $20.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is where I am a person of contradictions, where this movie is dumb.
Yeah.
I want to see the ball field because I do believe in baseball, even if I don't believe in the Field of Dreams.
It's a weird movie.
It's a weird movie.
It's definitely all the things that I kind of want to dismiss it, but I feel like I still kind of like it.
Yeah, I know, right? I don't know what to think about this.
Something about this movie.
Yeah. I respect everybody who hates this film. I think you're right. I can still understand watching it because here's what happens. Yes, they can now see the ball field, and they know people are going to come to, and we're going to turn this into a tourist attraction, which, as you said, is the most American way to end the film. But
I guess see ghosts play. I guess
sure. Look, if we go, I hope to God I see ghosts.
Yeah.
Hit me in the head enough times until I see ghosts, honey. I give you permission. Give me mushrooms. I don't care. I want to see ghosts.
Famous Iowa mushrooms.
So everybody else goes into the house like, hey, we're going to save the farm somehow. And Ray's just still out there while all the other ball players are just like, yeah, we're taking off. Our job is done, They're disappearing, I guess. They go off into the cornfield. With
Terrence.
Terrence decides he's going to go off with them and write about them.
Yeah.
And I assume this actually just means he dies.
Yeah.
This is just a metaphor for he's dead now. His body is somewhere in the cornfield.
Because he hasn't written for like 30 years or something.
Yeah, and this is what's going to...
Because he lost the 60s, but he found it back.
He found it again.
Yeah.
In the cornfield.
Yep.
Sure. So now that Terrence is gone in the cornfield with all the other ball players, this one guy, the catcher, is still on the field. And he starts taking all his stuff off. And Ray strikes up a conversation with him, like, about joining the others. And both kind of realize who each other is.
Yeah.
I have a question. If the ghosts all remember their lives up until they died,
yeah.
and that is implied through the film.
They gradually do. Because, Archibald does not at first. Like the young Archibald.
I think that's true when he first picks them up on the road.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Look, this film is not coherent.
No, it's not.
There are things that happen in this film that have no explanation, and this is one of them. Yeah. You would think that he would recognize his own son. If he has been the catcher in these games... Didn't you notice, by the way, that, hey, that might be your son, Ray?
It'd be funny if he had his name on his back of his jersey.
Yeah, wouldn't it?
He just didn't notice the whole time. Like, oh, wait, that's my name.
Yeah, so it's one that, like, all of a sudden, it turns out the he who would come was not Shoeless Joe. Yeah. It was his dad. The pain you would ease is not Terrence Mann. It is your father. The whole thing was built, do all of this stuff so that you can have a reconciliation with your dead father.
Yeah.
Like both of us, we have dead fathers.
Yeah.
And
More than one.
more than one, actually. Yeah. I didn't have like the tension with my dad's the way that Ray does, right? But I lost my dad when I was 7. I don't know. Does it work for me? I don't know.
Huh.
I mean, granted, I'm
made of stone?
a little bit. No. It's not like it doesn't affect me, but I don't know. Like it just felt a little weird and self-indulgent as an idea that you did all this stuff so that you could talk to your dead dad. Weirdly enough, I find the movie Frequency. Do you remember the movie Frequency?
No.
Oh.
I don't think I saw it.
That's a pretty good sci-fi film with Dennis Quaid, who has a radio and he's getting these frequencies from like the 1960s.
Oh, I heard about
and
this. And
basically he's talking to his dad through this radio.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily a great movie.
Yeah.
Kind of not unlike this. I don't know. Like, I don't know why I'm kind of reluctant to embrace this ending. I think it's mostly because I just keep thinking you tore apart your farm when you just needed therapy.
Yeah.
Just go to therapy.
Men will build a baseball field before going to therapy.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. Like, again, I am totally understanding why people get choked up watching this.
Yeah.
I don't know. At the same time, I'm just like, but your farm. And now it's just going to be a tourist attraction. That's a weird ending. But at least, he made a rapprochement with his father.
Yeah.
I don't know. How do you feel about this?
I think it works.
Mm-hmm.
I think because it's so understated or something. Like,
oh, no, you're right. It is actually kind of a nicely understated resolution to the entire story.
Like they never say dad and son ever. They just, it's, I think he says, like, I think that's my dad to his wife.
Yeah.
But, like, when they're talking to each other, it's very much like a father-son talking, like, not saying anything. Oh, I guess we'll just have a game of catch or something. Like.
This is where I don't have that experience. I don't know what that's like, right? This is a very cis male, not necessarily, a very cis male sort of like relationship with your dad type thing.
Yeah.
So like this is something I'm never going to quite understand. If you say this works, I believe you.
It works, although like I sort of am halfway with you. So you lost your dad when you were very young.
Yeah.
My dad lost his dad when he was very young. Mm-hmm. And so he didn't really know how to act once I got past a certain age. Mm-hmm. Like he was just, he just didn't have a father figure then. And he I don't know. He like once I started to become like a teenager, he's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. So,
so maybe actually this kind of makes sense to you. Yeah.
A little bit. I certainly get the male thing. Like you lose your dad. Yeah, I would give anything to like play catch with him. And like, I don't want to like talk stock options with him or anything.
No,
but I would definitely want to, like playing catch. That's it. That would be cool.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
So like I get that as an ending. Like there's a lot that works in this movie, but like the whole Berkeley thing feels wrong.
Yeah, it does.
Like it feels like it's trying to put it's like taking like what could just been a good baseball story and throwing in a twist that I feel like confuses the film.
Well, you know what it is? They're trying to make it less a story about a man trying to figure out how to deal with grief over his relationship with his father and turning it into a greater metaphor for the boomer generation and their relationship to their parents who went through the war or whatever. It's trying to do too much. And that's the stuff that doesn't work in this film, is when it gets away from this kind of strange magical realist story about a man who builds a baseball diamond and gets in contact with his dad. That stuff, it's weird, but it works in a way that throwing in all these signifiers of the 1960s and it's rebellious spirit, man. Yeah. And then they throw in like a couple of songs too, man. And it's just like, that's the stuff that doesn't work.
I kind of feel like
it's clunky.
I kind of feel like J.D. Salinger would have worked better. because he's not tied to anything. He's just a weirdo.
Well, he was just a weirdo, yeah.
But I mean, like he's not a weirdo connected to any group, you know? Like he's
Well, yeah, kinda, because he's definitely not connected to the hippies. He wasn't a beat.
yeah.
He was writing stories in the New Yorker, but it's not like he was, like really of. Like he's not even very much like John O'Hara or John Updike or anything. He's just sort of his own, kind of weirdo living in Connecticut or whatever.
Like he's the exact perfect absent father figure that you would try to reconcile with. And that makes sense to me.
Yeah, okay.
Like if you're trying to reconcile with J.D. Salinger, like you've won the American Absent Dad Award. If you get it to work. Like
Well, I think part of the problem is they took like instead of having a J.D. Salinger, they were trying to like make it like kind of halfway between like J.D. Salinger and like Richard Wright, the author.
Yeah.
And I don't know, what else were they throwing in there?
But it's the PTA meeting
Yeah.
and like the Berkeley
It
shot.
sucks.
The
It
one
sucks.
Berkeley shot, I was like, oh, you're overloading this.
Yes, that's exactly the problem. It's overloading.
Like there's so many things that work. I love just all the dumb choices he makes and just keeps making. It's in at one point Harvey is on the
Yeah.
Jimmy Stewart movie. Like it makes perfect sense. Like he's the only one that sees all this stuff. And it easily could have been a movie about like this guy goes crazy and it has a Brazil ending,
Yes. If they had no narration,
Yeah.
like to set this up as we're seeing this through Ray's eyes,
Mm-hmm.
that would have worked better. Because as you said, we would have just watched this guy going increasingly insane. But no, instead we have to deal with like this idea that he is somehow sane and just hearing voices from God.
Yeah.
But he makes these logical leaps that aren't logical.
But what I like about movies is that you can do that and then leave it open as to whether he's crazy or not, or are you crazy, the viewer?
Yeah.
Like I like movies that kind of get to that point.
But they don't.
Yeah.
This film doesn't do that.
Oh, it doesn't. No,
No.
not at all. And I feel like it's that Berkeley thing that I don't know. I'm like, oh, that's like putting that in there and putting in 30 something on top of that. Ugh. Didn't need that.
So the very, very last shot of this film, though,
Yep.
is a line of cars in the dark suddenly showing up to his house. Like it's a long trail, like a river of light, heading for his ball field. As something poetic and magic, sure. On the other hand, dude, guys, it's probably like 10 o'clock at night. What do you think is going to happen here?
We're going to see ghosts play baseball.
Sure. Go home.
That's Pete Rose.
Oh,
He
no.
just flipped me off.
I didn't know the baseball diamond was in hell. So that was Field of Dreams, starring Kevin Costner, Amy Madigan, Gabby Hoffman was their daughter, Ray Liotta, Timothy Busfield, James Earl Jones, Burt Lancaster, and Frank Whaley, who played young Archie. Written by W.P. Kinsella from his novel and Phil Alden Robinson, and directed by Phil Alden Robinson.
Huh.
Phil, get some therapy. Yeah, let's...
I'm wrong. There were dogs and that there were hot dogs.
You know what? To hell with it. I'll allow it. Anyway, all right. You can, of course, follow us on social media. We are Mary vs. Movie on all your major platforms, whether it's your Instagram or TikTok or Blue Sky, Mastodon. What else? We have a Facebook page, Mary versus the Movies. We have a Tumblr page, Mary versus the Movies. We will soon have a website.
What?
That's right.
What? Is it 2023?
Well, we started this in 2021, honey.
I know, but we started promising the website, I think, around 2020.
Yeah, well, it's taken 4 years, but we're finally going to have
Right, next
4 and a
week, I
half
think.
years. Yeah. We'll have it up and running just in time for the live show.
Wow.
That's right. By the way, we are doing a live show in July 19th at Space 1026 Gallery. We are showing...
Not far from where the 12 Monkeys used to hang out.
Well, that's true. It's down the street from the Metropolitan. Yeah.
Yep.
What do you mean by that? it's down the street from a place that was featured in the film 12 Monkeys in a much more degraded state than it is now.
Yes.
But anyway, yeah, Space 1026, we are doing Surf Nazis Must Die. We will be showing the film and then recording an episode. So if you want to do that and you live anywhere near the Philadelphia area, please, please, please. We will soon have the information up and running. In fact, by the time this episode comes out, I think we will have the ticket information and all the rest of it on the Space 1026 website. So put that in your calendar, July 19th. All right, what else? We have a Patreon where you can help support the show for $3 a month. You will help pay for things like the server costs and our new website and what else? The Zoom account and stuff that we do for interviews and all the rest of that stuff. And in order to, because if you've noticed, we don't have ads. We are not on a network. We are paying for all of this out of our own pockets. So if you would like to help support us, because it does have costs, then you can sign up at patreon.com/MaryVSMovies, and for $3 a month, you also then will get access to a whole other show that we do once a month called Hollywood Avalon, where we watch Arthurian movies and television shows and cartoons and just generally review those things. So it's anything from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade all the way through episodes of MacGyver. That's right, we did MacGyver. To old movies like The Black Knight that we just watched with Alan Ladd, which is
with a lot of fun actors and Alan Ladd.
Yeah, he just should not be in that film. But yeah, so like anything, we do Bugs Bunny cartoons. I just saw, my mother was just watching an episode of Midsummer Murders called The Fisher King that I want to do. We've also done the film The Fisher King. So yeah, it's all over the place. Patreon.com/MaryVSMovies. We do have a newsletter that comes out semi-regularly. We're trying to do it more often, but it doesn't always work out. But you get that automatically if you sign up for the Patreon, but you could also just email us. We are maryvsmovies@gmail.com. And if you email us, I might actually read your email.
What?
Well, sometimes I don't always check it as often as I should. But we do take requests, and we have taken requests in the past. And maryvsmovies@gmail.com. You can always write to us with any comments, questions, complaints, or suggestions. I really do love to hear from you. I'm just really bad at answering the mail right away, and I do apologize for that. But rest assured, I do actually eventually read everything. Well, because people don't email me every day, so you kind of forget after a while.
Yeah.
Anyway. Next week, I don't remember what we're going to do.
Okay.
I have something set up, but I know. I was thinking we were going to do Death Trap.
Death Trap.
Yeah, Death Trap. The
Yeah.
one with Christopher Reeve?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. Okay, so yeah, I think next week we're going to do Death Trap.
Cool.
So, yeah, well, fingers crossed if everything works out. But other than that, I think that's it. So, until next week.
I'm going to beat you with a crowbar until you go away.